Yeah, sometimes it seems like the Instagram algorithm is just not on our side. Things get buried and your reach is lower than it should be. Well, today we're actually one step closer to solving this issue because I've got some crazy and new insights about the Instagram algorithm for you. So, the head of Instagram, our old friend, you all know him during one of his Q&As and his update post he does, explain some changes. And yeah, if we read between the lines, he just happened to explain how the whole Instagram algorithm works. In addition to that, they also released their yearly Instagram Reels trend report, which is supposed to give us important insights for creators, but it's pretty much useless this year if you ask me, so we're not even gonna get into it. Anyway, if we take a look at all those leaks, we can pretty much predict how the Instagram algorithm works in 2023. What gets you recommended, why, and why not? And boy, do I have to say, things have already changed a little bit, you might have guessed, so make sure you adapt these changes to your strategy, because yeah, otherwise, you'll know what will happen. The first thing is actually a tool we've all been waiting for, and at least theoretically, this will help us get recommended. It will supposedly show you whether your content is even eligible to get recommended on the Explore page, for example, or on the home feed recommendations to non-followers. And this whole thing just yet again confirms the fact to me that they do actually shadow ban accounts. They just call it differently, probably, like the Twitter files, for example, who also always said, we don't shadow ban, it's not a thing, just don't make stuff up. Well, it turns out they do, and they just call it differently. Visibility filtering. Different word, I guess, so not the same, right? Right? Anyway, this tool, which you can find in your account settings, will show you whether you have followed their guidelines, and if not, you can actually appeal or change or remove the content, which will supposedly, I'm saying supposedly because we're never sure with Instagram, won't give you any flags if you decide to remove those things or change it accordingly. I made a ton of videos on content that won't get recommended down there in the description somewhere, but in this example, looks like drugs to me. Yeah, Frenchy fry. No. So yeah, make sure to go in the setting and check out if you're actually all green before you continue creating, as this might already affect your reach right now. That's just the beginning though, because going back to the Instagram algorithm, in a recent Q&A, our old friend Muziri leaked something I've talked about before, and I've actually been teaching this in my course, the Instagram Black File, since the beginning of this year, maybe last year, because I also had data that heavily hinted towards that. Basically is that the Instagram algorithm prefers to give your actual friends content a lot more reach as opposed to people you don't really know. But let me show you what he actually said before I'll explain it further.
We try to actually show your friend posts at the top of feed as best we can, but we sometimes make mistakes. And if there's someone you want to make sure you never miss what they post, whether it's a friend or any account, add them to your favorites and we will show them at the top of feed every time you post.
Now, based on my data, this whole thing comes down to the relationship you actually have with your audience and how they behave. We've talked about it here before. If the algorithm gets the slightest hint that you actually know one of the people that follow you, your content actually will get a massive boost. And actually, there's ways to get that up, even for people who you don't really know. Sneaky. For example, DM conversations, story replies, shares, context-based comments you get that indicate somewhat of a real relationship. And if you can just get some of these factors up with a part of your audience, you'll see your reach pretty much rise pretty quickly. Here's an example of what happened when we implemented one of these things to one of our clients' accounts. The crazy thing is the reach boost is somewhat almost instantly visible if you do it right. Now, the third one's actually a banger, and it'll change the landscape quite a bit over the coming year. We've seen this get hinted by Instagram already, but there's still a lot of confusion of what they actually mean with it. Talking about original content getting a massive boost pretty soon, maybe already, but pretty soon even more. Here's what Muziri said about it.
We do try and prioritize original content, but we don't have a great way of understanding what is and what is not original yet. We're getting better at it over time, and as we get better at it, we're going to dial that up. So expect to see more reach go to original creators relative to those who reshare other people's content over time, particularly as we get into next year.
Now, first and foremost, this means reposting will finally be a lot better than it already is. We've also talked about this thing a little bit here before a few months back, but there was actually an internal research document leak that gives a little bit more context to this whole thing and a little more context of what we should do with this information as creators to get our reach up. This internal thing is called Creators X Reels State of the Union 2022, and it it kind of shows Instagram, particularly Reels, yeah, it's kind of failing because they show that only 20% of US creators are actively posting Reels, and out of those 20%, nearly a third of those Reels posted come with a watermark, mainly from TikTok, even though they're actively being downranked already by the algorithm. Crazy if you think about it. Let that sink in, my friend. So what that means though is that of course Instagram has to start rewarding original creators who ideally create their content inside the app, with the app. And if it's just a little tweak with their font or text from their app, or something that shows them you're actually creating your own unique original content for them, for the platform. Remember, if we think about it, you were actually the product for Instagram. Which also means the more thought you put into your content, the more appealing it is, the more likely it's just gonna get pushed because of all the metrics. And there's basically 3 ways to do that. Firstly, of course, we can see posts, carousels, and stories still being the main driving factor if you combine them. So yeah, don't forget about these things. Don't just be a Reels creator. Secondly, let's talk about trending audio, because a lot of you guys think trends or trending audio is not original content. Of course they are, because in the eyes of the algorithm, you create content directly on the platform. And this trending audio already has signals for the algorithm, within the algorithm, that it knows what to do. Now, does that mean that you should only create these trending audio reels like, I see so many creators actually do? Of course no, because you're also not gonna help the platform, Instagram, because you're the product, get its real value across. Because if you think about it, what's the binge factor behind trending audio creators? This is kind of where we get full circle again with our first point here. Do you really connect, possibly as a fan, with a creator who only does trending audio reels? Just let me know your opinion. I don't think so. You might get discovered and lots of reach by hopping on one of those trends and creating one of those trends as one of your buckets. But yeah, for the long run, probably things are gonna get boring if you only create them. And it's gonna get lifeless, which is exactly the opposite that we want for this new algorithm. Now here's the thing, with these tips you should know how to become friends with the algorithm to get recommended, but really the more reach hacks you have up your sleeves, the easier it is overall. So make sure you watch this video next to take what you just learned right now and apply some of the most powerful and never talked about before algorithm hacks to grow your account.